und herzlich willkommen zum RWBY Podcast. Ich bin Ihr Gastgeber, der persönliche Gimbal für Weichni Mediocrity 4.
Currently downloading the audiobooks of Alya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian because I found out that they have audible versions of this. Hell yes. It's dude.
And, I suppose like some sort of foreign thing as well for me, but in English. I'm Coop.
Spoken like a true American hero.
I am actually downloading them right now. It's great. It's look out
By the way,
here, so.
I called myself Pure Weichni's personal gimp in that opening salvo.
That's certainly something to call yourself.
Yep. Because, man, Fascist Weiss makes me feel things.
Dude, Fascist Weiss, her fit goes so... She looks so fucking good, dude. She looks so cool. Fucking sunglasses, the fit. One of the things I was going to... First of all, I liked this a lot, by the way.
We're talking about,
say that
by the way, we're talking, if you haven't noticed
Yeah.
by the title and by my horrible German accent, we're talking about RWBY Ice Queendom, the anime produced or directed by Studio Shaft with during their partnership with Rooster Teeth. And yeah, I liked it too.
I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to. I thought it was just going to be like, fucking around. I mean, there's issues, but it's good. And the funny thing is I started watching the show again because I said I was kind of going to do that, and so I'm partway through volume 3 right now, and so comparing it and I watched Ice Queendom and then immediately started watching volumes 1 and 2, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff it does a lot better than volume 1 and 2, and does continue a lot of the stuff that volume 1 and 2 were trying, especially volume 1 was trying to do, and they do it a lot better in a lot of ways. So it's kind of cool. Also, just the look of it is interesting because it both looks better and worse in certain ways. I think overall it looks better. I had to get used to some things though, like the characters look a little bit different. The characters that you're used to seeing the most, I feel like it takes a little bit longer to adapt to them. But like when they kind of make their own designs, especially, it looks really good. Like that Dreamcatcher guy looks great, or girl. Shion. Yeah,
they are supposed to be androgynous.
Okay, that makes sense. So they look great. That character looks awesome. It's a cool character. The concept is also pretty cool. I like that. Very creative. And yeah, freaking Führer Weiss looks fantastic. Like the design, the attitude, the way, the angles they use for her, the sunglasses, the fit, like because they made her look a bit different. And honestly, like the White Fang Adam version of Blake looks awesome too. Like the stuff where they're able to...
Okay, so like Fascist Weiss is my favorite design of this. Freaking Adamified Blake is a not too distant second.
Yeah. Professional snowboarder RWBY is also hilarious. I love that is Weiss's vision of her. And she's literally just an X Games competitor.
And I love, I keep alluding to this. And I alluded to this on Twitter too, because Fixing RWBY by Raymond McNeil, friend of the channel. They're on Fixing Volume 7, and he just recently had the Sketchy Huntsman unveil their new Atlas inspired designs for Team RWBY. And like RWBY in that looks honestly a lot more like she does in Ice Queendom. Like whichever artist he had designing RWBY clearly was taking inspiration for that. But like just to reiterate how gold RWBY's core design ethos is, in both that and in this in Ice Queendom, like there's so many details that are different. Like the arts, everything from like the art style to like the costuming, but it still reads as RWBY. Like the oversized winter coat in this reads the exact same way as her cape does, as her cape and skirt.
Yep, it does, and it does kind of fit her personality. Like being so energetic but kind of dorky and very talented, like athletic. I mean, because like you think of fighting is like athletic, so it does make sense for her to kind of be seen that way, and because she's so extreme and rapid and kind of like that, it does sort of make sense for Weiss to look at her that way, and also the fact that she just sees Yang as like super fucking strong, like she makes Yang overpowered in her world. I thought that was kind of funny.
Blake's ribbon, which already just it never made any sense. The ribbon on Gamble's shroud, it just like goes infinite distance.
Yeah,
just keeps going. I think we commented on that in our very first podcast. Talking about Runaways and Stowaways, the Volume 4 episode, where like there's a scene where she's like swinging around on the boat, and it's just like the length of the boat in that one shot.
That's right. Yeah.
It might have like a compact sort of like tape roll type thing in it that has it retractable, like you never
It's
know.
just made of Mr. Fantastic.
It could also be elastic. It could be both. That would make it like fairly length indeterminate.
It's made of Mrs. Incredible size.
So I have kind of a crackpot theory as far as like the art style. This is made by a Studio Shaft, and it shows like the way they do the eyes, the way they do the like neck turns and stuff. It is very similar to other things that Shaft has done, which I haven't seen a whole lot that Shaft has done. But the main thing that I know them from is Madoka Magica. But my crackpot theory is that the person who did the character designs for Ice Queendom, I'm not actually sure that they've watched the show. I think that they read the Shiro Miwa manga, and that there's little details that are in this that are present in the Shiro Miwa manga that aren't in the web series. So either they took direct inspiration from that, or they were at least they were very much aware of it.
My kind of only major issue with the art is that they make everybody too skinny. It's weird, like especially like Ruby with her overly like baggy like outfit, like the snowboarder outfit. Her legs look like toothpicks, and Jean is the other one that I think suffers the most from that. Like Jean is wearing like skinny jeans all of a sudden. It looks terrible.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
It works to Weiss and Blake's advantage, which is probably why they are the two best designs in the show.
Yeah.
But it works against. Also works for Penny. But I think it does a disservice to Jean, Sun, and I think the biggest victim of this is actually Yang. Like Yang does have moments where she looks really cool, but between like the sharper, more angular style of the art and just I hesitate to say that they phoned it in with her dream design, but I don't get as good of an idea of how Weiss sees Yang based on her design, especially compared to everyone else.
Yeah, the only thing we get is that she thinks she's like the most powerful. That's kind of it.
Like even Ren and Nora, as minor as those changes are to their overall design, I get the impression that like Weiss doesn't have much an impression on them and just sees Nora as a silly doofus and Ren as Asian. Like I do get that at least, which is more than I get from Yang.
Because I wonder what they like. I was going to ask what the reason for her having them just basically be mute and just being like duh 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 is. It's either because I think it's either because she doesn't know or care enough about them to the point where she doesn't remember anything they fucking said, or I think more likely she thinks they're so stupid and annoying in Nora's case, or so quiet in Ren's case that she just makes it so they're basically dumb. They can't speak.
Yeah, but and we see this with Jean too, where like during Ruby's first trip in, he just meows.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's volume 1. It's in between volume 1.
Yep, it's
Weiss's opinion of Jean at that point is
at its lowest.
Yeah, it can't get any lower at that point, which is honestly fair enough, especially having rewatched volume 1 again. Jean is even more pathetic than I remember, and Jaundice is even worse than I remember. I think they did a good job of recapping the important parts pretty well, and getting through it fairly
So
quickly for those of us that have already seen it, and then getting into what's really the meat of their thing. And I also really love how they previewed it with Jean and showed like the difference depending on who you are as a person and where you're at, like mentally and everything.
and they also use that in place of jaundice, like where jaundice
Yes.
would have been in volume
Yeah.
1 is Jean and the Nightmare for episode 2 of this. And that actually brings me to a very important point I wanted to make, and I outright said this in the last podcast, where like I've always complained about volume 1, and we have multiple versions of it now. We have the actual canonical version of volume 1 from 2013. We now have the Ice Queendom version, we have the Shiro Miwa version, and we have the Viz Media version. And all 4 of those versions,
What's the Viz Media version?
it hits a lot all the same points, really. It just looks really, really cool. But the
When did they wait? They or what? Sorry, I really don't know anything about this.
yeah, it was a couple years. It was around the same time that DC was doing their crossovers with RWBY, and they did that brief miniseries where it was like in between volumes 3 and 4. And whoever was doing all the art for it clearly didn't know that what Adam's sword looked like. They had it look like Jean's sword cutting Yang's arm off. That's one of the only things I remember from that whole, like, the DC comic was garbage. But the main problem I have with Volume 1 is present in all 4 of those versions was like, it's a story about a team coming together where the team doesn't actually come together. But Ice Queendom suffers from it the least because that is not the end of the season.
Yeah.
Where
exactly.
it uses the episode Black and White as a precursor to the actual meat of the story, which is the Ice Queendom proper. And that is the story of how the team comes together. So I think Ice Queendom actually benefits from the way it truncates Volume 1 and then has, does what the main focus is like what Volume 1 was trying to accomplish. Ice Queendom ends up accomplishing by telling the story that's set in between. Because as it stood, before Ice Queendom, you had Volume 1 where like Weiss just kind of off-screen forgives Blake for running away for being a former White Fang. Doesn't matter to her, I guess. Yang doesn't say anything to contribute to that entire plot line. And then by the time Volume 2 rolls around, they're just all buddy-buddy friends. Perfect team.
Yeah, having just rewatched, sorry. It's blatantly disappointing how quickly they resolve things that should not be so quickly resolved, especially with Weiss and Blake together and individually. Honestly, their characters suffer a lot which is why I said it in the last podcast we did. I said Blake has never been well written, and sadly I'm going back and confirming my beliefs on that. But the best she's ever been, and this is great but also extremely disappointing, is in Ice Queen. This is the most I've ever liked Blake. This is the most she's reflected on herself.
Yeah.
And same thing with Weiss, because my biggest complaint with this show, with Ice Queendom, honestly, is the fact that actually, this is funny I'm saying this because in the last podcast I talked about how Blake is supposed to be this, righteous person who's been stepped on, and, we're supposed to sympathize with her, but we can't because she's so arrogant and turns out she's a fucking princess, so she's not actually suffering as much as she says she is, all that kind of stuff, right? But in Ice Queendom, I feel like this is the most sorry I've ever felt for Blake, is in Ice Queendom. Because they make Weiss way more of an asshole in Ice Queendom. And I love that, actually. Because I feel like that's kind of what she should have been even worse in Volume 1 of RWBY. And I feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, Weiss is way more of an asshole. And even before.
There's a moment where Weiss all but says, not all Faunus, but always a Faunus.
Yeah, like she's way. And even before she becomes Weiss Hitler, basically, which is essentially what they do with it, by the way, which is crazy that they did that. She is, or, any dictator, but let's be honest, she's a German.
Very fascist coded.
The name is Weiss Schnee. You're gonna think of Germany when you think of her, okay? White hair, blue eyes. She's yeah. Anyway, um, she's even before she becomes the fascist dictator, she is way more racist in this than she is in volume one of RWBY. And actually going back to it, she's more racist in volume one of RWBY than I remember too. But she's even more in Ice Queendom. So and she's way meaner to Blake. And so you can actually sympathize with Blake a lot more. And because Blake actually reflects on her own actions and is more genuinely apologetic, and the arc she goes through where she like actually has to, she um take like kind of almost like takes the risk of being infected, right? And becomes like the worst version of herself possible. It's very cathartic to actually see her go through that and have her experience that and see, what she could be if she really made all the wrong decisions. So she's actually the bigger of the two between Weiss and Yang, and Blake. Sorry, Weiss and Blake. Blake is actually the bigger person and the better person, and is nicer. And in Ice Queendom, I feel like the biggest
Yeah.
issue I actually have with Ice Queendom is that after all this happens, Weiss doesn't apologize enough. She like they save her. She doesn't. She just feels like embarrassed about everything that happened.
As she should.
But like as she should, yeah, obviously. If I turned into a fascist dictator in my dream, I would be fucking
Well, and it's
mortified, right?
such a side of Weiss that we so rarely see, and we never really got to see that with Beacon Weiss, where like she has this just such a high opinion of herself, but we never really see her getting taken down a peg until uh like volume 7 and 8, and more so with volume 9, where they made her into a complete joke.
A little bit in volume 3 when she gets put or Winter is like clearly way above her. They do that a little because I just watched that. They do that a little bit, but yeah, for the most part, you're right. It doesn't happen too much to her, but they definitely. It's weird because like yeah, they do. She's embarrassed. She's mortified as she should be, but they should have confronted her more about this. They were too busy feeling sorry for her going through it. But like they had to go through just as much, if not more, than she did to get her out of it, right? And I feel like she wasn't thankful enough to them, and she wasn't apologetic enough to them, especially Blake. Because in this, again, my biggest complaint with Blake is that she doesn't deserve. She's supposed to. We're supposed to sympathize with her, and we can't because she doesn't act. The writers don't write her well enough. They made her too insufferable and too privileged, actually. But in this, in Ice Queendom, I'm totally on Blake's side on this one. This is the most I've ever liked Blake, and not just liked her, but feel sympathy towards her because Weiss is meaner to her. She feels more discriminated against. She feels there's more racism towards her in this one, and especially like the version of her in the dream too. Like she's getting beat up. Like she does not have it good, and she doesn't really confront Weiss afterwards. She's too nice. It's weird. It's like anti Blake. I like this Blake a lot more, and it's frustrating because I this a Blake like this done like this in the real show. God, I'd like her so much more, but I don't like Weiss as much in a way because she doesn't get come up and apologize. It's weird. Do you agree with that a bit?
I'm not sure if I like completely agree with the negativity of this, but I do understand like what you're saying, and that's and that's just a further continuation of the problem with Weiss and Blake's whole character arc throughout volumes 1 and 2, which is that like there's not enough there, and even with how much more we got from Ice Queendom, it still doesn't feel like a smooth character arc. But one thing I want to say about Blake, and particularly her voice actress, and this is why I had to confirm, because when I first watched this, I watched it in sub, because that was the only thing available when I first watched it when it first came out. And then this most recent rewatch, I watched it in dub with the RWBY cast. I could not believe that it was Aaron Zek as Blake still. She is so much better in this and is having such a fucking blast being evil Blake for those 2 or so episodes that, like, I could not believe that it was the same voice actress who just always kind of sounds like this. Even when she's fighting for her life, she just sounds like Natalie Portman in fucking Revenge of the Sith. But here she's just like she adds like some texture to her voice. This is what you wanted from all the fun. Like, she sounds like Adam, like the best parts of Adam infused into her voice, or the worst parts of Adam, depending on if you're talking about like character or writing wise. But like it's such a good turnaround for this voice actor, because I've been dogging on her for years because I've always felt like she's phoned in her performances post Volume 4. But here she sounds more alive in Ice Queen. It's not just the evil Blake stuff, it's the whole package throughout this whole volume. Like, she just sounds so much better here than she did in Volume 1. And I know part of that is just age. Like, you know, Volume 1 was 12 years ago now. She's had that 12 years of experience to build up to this. But, like, even comparing it to her performance in Volume 9, which was coming out around the same time as this, like, it's just a night and day difference. Like, I don't know. It's got to be a direction thing. Like, whoever was directing this dub did a lot better job at bringing this performance out of Aaron Zek than what Kerry Shawcross had been doing the past few seasons.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. I think everybody sounds really good. I watched the dub because I figured it would be the voice actors I know. Normally, I'm a sub only guy, partly because I'm learning the language. But it was good. I thought the dub was really, really good for the most part. And even going back to watching RWBY originally, I'm still impressed by Lindsay, to be honest. Like, that's the performance I think that impresses me the most. Like, even from the beginning, it's like, dang, Lindsay just nails RWBY. But like, again, everything about RWBY from the beginning, I was like, okay, this is why I liked the show. This is why I got into the show, despite all of its massive flaws. Is like everything about RWBY is done so well, and she's the main character, and she's done really well in this too. Like in Ice Queendom, they don't betray her character at all. They do all honestly, the whole thing in Ice Queendom, they're very faithful to like how the characters are, and any character that's important is really only improved. Like I said, I think I like this Weiss. I like that she's more evil and kind of more racist and fucked up in this, because it was a little half-hearted in Volume 1, and then Blake is definitely more interesting and has a bit more depth and goes through more in this than she did in the actual Volume 1. So it's really, they're still faithful to what the characters basically are, but they just do a better job, I think. Now there's more time and experience and they have advantages, but still I like it.
It really makes me want for them to contrive a way to show, like, RWBY and Yang, like, their internal dreamscapes or whatever.
Oh god, I would love to see that.
Because, like, it's very clear that, like, this evil version of Weiss, this is the person that Jacques wants her to be.
Yeah.
This is a compilation of all the parts of her that still wants his approval, that wants to follow his path, the path that he laid out for her, and do the easy thing, really, as far as taking over the Schnee-Dust Company and continuing the profits and stuff. But that is so counterintuitive to the deeper parts of her, the childish parts of her, the parts of her that wants to be more like her grandfather, this great hero who was in the mines with his workers defending them from Grimm. We get so much like Big Nicholas lore in Ice Queendom that does so much good in like it's all stuff that was kind of like there a little bit in Volume 4, and then it gets touched on in Volume 9 with the "I'm the granddaughter of a hero and the daughter of a villain" line. But like, it's so refreshing. It helps really contextualize everything Weiss does throughout the whole series to finally see a scene where her and her grandfather are interacting in her memories, and
I
how
know, I love that scene.
memory is literally stored in the heart of her entire dreamscape. Like, it is literally the centerpiece of the Ice Queendom, and it is being buried by this skeletal artifice, this corpse of her grandfather that is being puppeted in this context, the Nightmare Grim, to like bury that memory and bury the truth of that memory, along with the manifestation of the true Weiss, which is the Volume 4 dress that we see.
Yeah, which is very clever.
That we also see projected on the Pyrrha with a different color palette. Yeah, like that was such a needed thing that, like, it's one of the many things in this, really, that I wish it was in the actual series. I wish it was.
Yeah.
Because, like, here's another detail. Nicholas is wearing the Armored Gigas armor in that memory. Like, the armor he is wearing is the Armored Gigas armor that is also the first real challenge Weiss faces before heading to Beacon, and is also her primary summon now.
I didn't notice that part.
Yeah. I think it's actually in Volume 4 when this was revealed. There's like a painting of Nicholas Schnee, and you can't really see his armor well, but you see the helmet. And I like that during the whole like climax when everything is going down, Jacques, the statuified version of Jacques, wears the armor in order to fight, but as soon as the armor like starts to break from Jean, I have some things to say about that later. As soon as the armor's gone, he just like pops because he is powerless without the corpse of Nicholas Schnee. Like that's some symbolism there,
which is pretty brilliant. That's great symbolism. Yeah, no, they do a lot of good stuff with that. I do love the scene with her actually talking to her grandfather. It would be really nice if that's another thing. Would be really nice if we got it in the actual show. I don't want to rag on the actual show too much, but I guess it's one of the biggest compliments I can give Ice Queendom is that, man, the real show would be a lot. That's why the first thing I asked you once I finished was like, dude, how canon is this? Because I really want all of this to be canon because it makes things a lot better in a lot of ways, honestly.
Yeah, like the actual like Ice Queendom stuff, you can very clearly like rationalize a version of these events having happened in between volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah, you definitely could.
Now, obviously, there are some tweaks that they make to the stuff that we did get repeated from volume 1, like just dialogue changes. The fact that Ty is like involved in the first episode, cutting out the entire ballroom stuff, like having Team RWBY first meet on the airship all at the same time instead of RWBY meeting with Weiss and Blake and then reuniting with Yang, and then later that night Yang meets Weiss and Blake. So they streamlined that a lot.
Yeah, it's just and I don't really have a problem with that. It was weird, but then I figured it was just to streamline things, which is fine because then it gets to the meat of what they're trying to do faster. So whatever. Personally, I feel like they didn't need to even have all that stuff, but then again, depending on the audience that they want to maybe watch the show, if they're trying to get people that aren't necessarily familiar with the show to watch it, then I guess it does make sense for them to do it that way, I suppose.
I think the Weiss and the Blake stuff all important. Like we get a lot of the White trailer. I think that's important for establishing the Schnee family dynamics. And I think the Black trailer stuff that they repeat is also really important because it sets up negative Blake. And also the loop of the dream is that the White Fang keep attacking the train that's trying to enter the Ice Queendom. The White Fang succeeding is what's keeping her like in stasis there. And it's only with RWBY, Blake, and Yang fighting off the White Fang and riding the train into the city that they're finally able to start like making alterations to the dream and making progress. What would negative RWBY be like? I mean, aside from homophobic.
Happy about murdering people.
My headcanon is that negative RWBY would really not be that different from regular RWBY. I
can
think
see her being a lot like Frodo. Like so focused on the burden that like they succumb to it.
I think it would just be her, but just with heightened either. I think it'd be a combination. She'd be heightened in terms of her her drive, so she'd be more neurotic essentially, because her biggest issue is that she's a confident person in her abilities, but she's not confident in her leadership abilities and her social skills and all that kind of stuff. So I think she would be more neurotic because I think it would heighten her lack of confidence in those things, but then also heighten her, not that she's arrogant, but actually in Volume 1, she is a little bit arrogant about her fighting abilities. So I think you would like heighten both of those things, and that would just make her like extra zany, extra neurotic about everything. Like she'd be like a dark version of Oobleck, like constantly drinking coffee and like twitching. That would be her.
That sounds like you're saying she'd basically be some kind of weird serial killer. That sounds
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds about right for her if you're doing a dark version of her. What would Dark Yang be?
Dark Yang would do drugs.
I
think
that.
Dark Yang would be, and I don't know what she should be like, but I know what they would end up doing with it, which is making her more like Raven.
Yeah, I was gonna say she'd just basically be
have her be a lot, having her be a lot more pessimistic, a lot more like, I've done enough. I'm sick of having to raise RWBY and be the adult in the situation. I just want to live my free life and be a bandit or whatever.
Yeah, that seems more reasonable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
I don't think they are probably going to do any. If they do another weird 2D animated spin-off thing of RWBY ever, I don't think that they would they would reuse the same thing. I think they would probably do a different plot line to it for it.
Yeah. That would be what I actually hope. But like, I would read like a one shot, like a What If. I know What If is like Marvel's thing, but I'd be down to just to see it, really, just to see what the perceptions would be, because I need my validation that RWBY has the hots for someone. No. Can we talk about White Knight? Or no,
You said you wanted
go on
to
ahead.
just go on and do it, media. Just get it over with. I haven't been able to say jack shit anyway. Go ahead, fucking.
No.
Y'all two have been glazing the shit out of this thing for so long. I haven't been able to get a word in edgewise. Go ahead and keep it up. Let's hear more. I wanna hear more.
I'm just gonna say that we talk about the symbolism here. So I have some thoughts on Jean being the one to take down Jacques in the Ice Queendom, and how Jean's unique position in this show, where he gets infected by the nightmare, and then his team like saves him without really breaking a sweat because they have a much more like decent relationship than Team RWBY does at that time, and that is because like, I think an acknowledgement on Jean's behalf of like how much he needs his team and how much his team like genuinely digs him and how much Pierre wants to fuck him, but that's a separate matter. Ice Queendom is low-key White Knight propaganda in some instances. You have the fact that like it's John's unique position here that allows them to penetrate further into the dreamscape and get all the way deep inside her subconscious. You have his giant sword that she gives him. Like, it's not like in lieu of his actual sword. Like, he has his regular Cursia Moore sword and shield, but then he also has this hulking Buster sword ass fucking blade strapped to his back that also acts as like nightmare grim repellent. And there's an instance where Ruby temporarily does get stung by the nightmare, and Jean like hoists her up and uses the giant sword to cure her. I think I mentioned before about how Pyrrha in this is lumped in with Jean, but Pyrrha is also, for whatever reason, wearing the Volume 4 Weiss outfit, just a color palette swap version of it, and also is the one who sings Mirror Mirror, which that's a choice. That's a choice. But like, is Weiss just projecting her desires onto Pyrrha? And what does that say about her desires for Jean? Because Pyrrha clearly wants to fuck Jean. And Weiss wants to be like Pyrrha, or wants to see herself in a similar light that she sees Pyrrha. So what's going on there? Oh, and Kara Eberly, whose birthday is today, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. We happen to be recording this on Kara Eberly's birthday.
Nice.
The way that Kara Eberly especially like just delivers her lines around Jean, like she's got to be doing it on purpose, right? Like I know Kara Eberly is well aware of White Knight, and the has been like really leaning into it with her vocal performances over the past few volumes, and she's definitely doing it on purpose, even if it's not like an intended thing with the writing or with the direction. Like there's something going on there.
I mean, I think even the writing is kind of teasing at the very least in Volume 9. Like, Weiss, even because the animation is clearly indicating that Weiss is into older Jean big time. We even joked about that, I'm pretty sure, in the podcast, did we
Yeah.
not?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, she's
We made a note of
absolutely
it.
down bad in Volume 9.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say just as a sort of foil against your position that she has Freudian subconscious musings about John, that she never ever makes him look more like her dad or grandfather. So honestly, can she really be attracted to him sexually? I mean, come on.
That's
Like she certainly has a much more accurate perception of Jean compared to her team. Though that might be that could either mean that like she's more observant of him, or it could also mean that like she doesn't think as much of him. You can kind of take it or leave that detail.
yeah. I was gonna
I
say,
think
so one thing I liked and the one thing I didn't like. I liked that they didn't. It took them so long to succeed at getting uh, Weiss out of everything. But two things I didn't like: they never pay off the Chekhov's gun of the coins. Really, you would it's such an obvious thing, and it never really becomes a problem. Kind of that's a
Yeah,
mistake.
they
I
always
think.
have the perfect amount for what they
Yeah,
actually need.
that's dumb. Then why even have them? Okay, and they even clearly show Ruby spending them way too freely throughout the whole thing, and then it never comes back to bite her. What the fuck? That's not good. And
Yeah,
then
especially during the first trip.
the way Ruby wins and defeats the whatever the nightmare grim or whatever it is, um, way too easily. All of a sudden, at the end, it makes no sense. And the whole thing of her gun being backwards, that she still had to like look and turn around. Basically, it doesn't actually
Yeah,
make a difference. That
yeah.
was
I
really
was
dumb.
gonna say that.
That was so dumb, so dumb.
Like it would be different if like the way it paid off is that she has to slash up front and shoot behind her at the same time. But
Yeah,
that's not what they end up doing.
no. So those are two complaints. I know Coop was rightly pointing out that we were glazing the show a bit, but that those two things were definitely issues. And like I said,
uh,
Weiss does not get enough comeuppance.
as far as like the coins go, my main thing with them was like when they were counting out how many coins they had, they didn't say, "Hey, only use 3 coins each, and if you've got like one last coin, keep that and use that as like the emergency get out coin." Uh, you could have planned that out better. Instead,
Yep.
they just looked at them and were like, "Yep, we got coins." Like,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think if it was me, I would tell everybody don't spend your last coin at the
Yeah.
very least.
Yeah, that would be probably like the first thing that I would have planned out around that. And
Hmm.
as far as like, I don't know, hmm, I f- I kind of feel like the whole thing was maybe dragged out and spread a little bit too thin in a lot of ways. I think they could have gotten through a lot of this a lot quicker. And the part where Ruby herself like gets like inceptioned and has the dream within a dream thing happen with her. I felt they could have cut that out entirely. I didn't really feel like that was
Agreed.
did.
Agreed.
And they
That was decent.
repeat that scene several times after that, and which just further highlights the problem, like the whole gun being backwards thing doesn't actually factor in.
Some of the stuff was kind of I guess the animation is probably where I would say is not that great. I now mind you,
It's very inconsistent, especially in I think they fixed some of it in like the Blu-ray release. I'm sure. I only have the original broadcast version on my hard drive, but I noticed that like when I rewatched it on a Crunchyroll to watch the dub, that like it looked like they cleaned up some scenes. That like some scenes just didn't look as bad as I remembered them. And this is a problem I have with a lot of things that I have seen from Shaft, including Madoka Magica. A lot of times, the eyes, which are very well drawn, will just look dead. Like Yang just staring off into the middle distance, directly into your soul type situations going on very frequently in this.
I felt like a lot of it was kind of stiff like that, and I think
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how to describe it. It seemed to me like the characters were more kind of meant to be uh, they were kind of over detailed to where like they are better off still in most cases, and it, it's it might have been kind of hard for them to animate that. And in other instances, they also like interlaced a lot of very obvious 3D into stuff that was kind of, it was jarring to see it put in just in such stark contrast to the backgrounds.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I did compliment Weiss, evil Weiss looking awesome because I feel like I don't know they just nailed that and they were able to be as stylistic as they wanted and because most of what she was doing was kind of posing in like very jerky kind of motion so she didn't have to move too much so she looked good in like her posing with like the dark shadows and all that kind of stuff and the full
They
close-ups
did a
of
lot
her
of
and everything.
Yeah, they did a ton of close-ups on her to, I think, probably kind of band-aid over that a little bit more.
Yes, which worked, but if I had to say overall, I agree that I was disappointed in the animation. I was hoping for a much bigger upgrade over, the existing Ruby animation, which no shade to the animators. Rooster Teeth has been revealed to, not pay their people well and overwork their animators, and they don't have the budget, right? But I was. I'm not saying I was hoping for, you know, Kyoto Annie or Ufotable or Cloverworks levels here, but I mean, it would have been really cool to have the Ruby characters done as well as Kyoto Animation or Ufotable or Cloverworks, for example. That would be great, but we didn't get that. It definitely was not on that level, as I already complained about with them. Sometimes looking super skinny and then sometimes not. The faces always looked a little bit off. Like you could easily recreate how their faces look normally because I think the general character designs were never a problem in Ruby. It was just how they were rendered and how they their bodies or whatever like interacted with the ground or whatever. Right, that was always the issue. Some of the biggest issues with Ruby.
Yeah,
But
I wouldn't say it was an issue in Ruby itself because of like the way that the 3D animation kind of like works differently from the 2D. But in a 2D animated thing like this, like putting like extra details on like their lips and on having clothing that is so sort of that has so much little details to it is kind of harder for that because you can't just move the model around. You have to like actually draw it and stuff, or otherwise you make a 3D model of it that you uh, don't try very hard to get to look 2D and just put it in there and have it do the action scenes, which is what they decided to do. And either way, it comes off looking kind of bad. And it's it's just kind of a sort of thing with trying to like transfer it between different mediums. It kind of comes off in a weird way sometimes.
I'm also not fond of the generic laser sound effects that they use. Like the sound design in Ruby is never like great, but like there is a distinctness with the way that like dust magic sounds. But this is just pew pew pew.
It does it does feel a little Star Warsy sometimes. It's just weird. That's what I got out of it, or like just yeah, generic sci-fi kind of sounds. It was
I didn't
weird
really
to me.
notice much of the sound design for it. Like
I noticed the laser sound kind of thing. They just like for some certain it was either
It's
gunshots or
very
something.
noticeable with
Yeah.
Ruby.
Yeah. Yes, that's who it was. I don't remember who it was, but I just remember hearing shots.
Because Crescent Rose is supposed to sound like a Barrett like sniper rifle.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like a fit. It's like she has like a 50 cal or something, like a 50 cal sniper rifle is essentially what I think she's used. I think it's what it's basically supposed to be, but it's bolt action for some, just because it looks cool. That is one weird thing Monty did that I do not. It makes no sense. Why her fucking sniper rifle is bolt action?
But only sometimes.
But yeah,
well, it's because when she has to work the action, it is a cool little movement for her to do that has a neat bolt locking sound to it.
it should be
And
like
so
you know what they should have done it and like if she's like changing the the style like the bullet type or something like that to different cool bullets. That should be when she has to like do the bolt action thing. But they're doing it like when if you've seen the car commercials where somebody quote unquote shifts an automatic transmission, it's that bullshit. That's what they do. That's what they're doing with Ruby.
it's
Anyway,
meant to
that's a problem with the
punctuate a
regular.
scene more than have like an actual function.
Yes,
Is
exactly.
what it's for more.
Yes. But then like why design that in the first place? You have other characters that don't need that, you know? Like
Well, hold up. Yang working the pump action on her gauntlets.
yeah, I was
Uh,
about to bring that up. I know. As soon as I said that, I regret it because I was like, well, Yang, when she cocks her gauntlets basically, or like ejects the cartridges, only
for
sometimes
yeah, for seemingly no reason. That's the
for
reason.
seemingly no reason. But that's not as bad because it's like she was.
Have we ever seen Yang actually reload since the yellow trailer?
No, never seen her reload.
Which is kind of weird because those those belts for the shotgun shell things they're kind of cool. I like the idea of that,
Hmm.
but it doesn't it never comes up again.
We've seen every other character. We've even seen fucking Jean reload, and he doesn't even have a gun.
I mean, I don't think I've ever
Everything
seen.
done
I don't think I've ever seen Sun. I don't think I've been watching through. I'm halfway through like volume 3. I don't think I've seen Sun reload.
Well, he only uses the gunchucks in 2 scenes across, 5 volumes of relevance.
Hmm, really? Only twice?
Yeah, yeah. He uses it once in Volume 1 against Roman, and then Volume 5 against Ilya. I know it. I know it showed his gun. I know it showed his gunchucks
No, he uses them.
at one point in Volume 3
He,
because Velvet takes a
yeah, he
picture of
does. He
him.
uses them in the fight in volume 3. His
Wait, when? Oh,
Team
right,
Sun
yes,
versus.
that's I had forgotten about the team fight things and
Well, they're bad. They're really bad. The Team Juniper fight especially is really bad. It's so bad. Oh my god, I forgot how bad it was. And then I the team Sun fight was also pretty much just as bad. Like I was funny. I'm like real quick, very short tangent. Uh, I forgot how funny volumes 1 through 3 of RWBY are. They actually hit with the humor a lot. I know I complained last time about how they try to do everything and they don't hit on everything, but I will admit volumes 1 through 3 actually they're still making me laugh. Like it holds up. I think the freaking the Brussels sprouts joke, the a lot of it's with Ruby, by the way. The she does like tuna a lot, whisper that kind of stuff. Still funny. Nora's insane rant after they eat too much food before their fight, still hilarious. Emerald's line delivery of how can they be happy all the time, still funny. But yeah, when they try to be funny in the fights, that's when it really falls apart. Ugh, big time. Which, again, nice thing about back to the show we're supposed to be talking about, Ice Queendom, is they don't really do any of that, which is kind of nice that they don't do any of that.
I do want to kind of like bridge those two subjects by kind of just throw this out there. When was the last time Yang actually made a joke?
In the actual show, well, again, I'm watching through it right now, so very
It's
recently,
like
but
she's supposed to be like the funny character, the character that like says the funny things sometimes, but like I don't think she's actually made a joke since Volume 3.
well, okay. First of all, let me point out I actually don't have a huge problem with that, and the reason why, first of all, she was never really very funny. I'm again having just watched volumes 1 and 2 and most of volume 3, or half of volume 3, sorry, and pretty much all the points where Yang would actually make a joke because I'm only like an
Well,
episode or two away from it going crazy. She's not gonna be funny anymore at that.
I
Yeah,
remember that. I remember that the joke with Yang was that her jokes never landed, and everybody was kind of like
yeah,
uh, just flat faced at them. But that itself was kind of funny. So like the humor was more like,
That's something they do with Weiss in Volume 9.
yeah, they
Like
should
yeah.
probably have.
the constantly annoying cat line. Oh, yep, you
I,
sure showed him.
yeah,
I don't.
I felt with Weiss that that was. Maybe they should have pawned that back off onto Yang if they wanted to have somebody doing that throughout that volume. Like, I don't know what they would have done with Weiss in that volume had they done that, though, because otherwise I don't think she would have had much else to do.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't really have a problem with them stopping Yang doing that because I feel like her I don't really mind her losing that after losing her arm. Like it kind of changes her attitude. She's not quite the same like happy-go-lucky, silly person that she used to be. So I don't really mind that too much. Um, but
I
also
don't
to
think that
counter
that's.
my own point, Yang hasn't been as good of a character since then. To be honest, since Volume 4 was probably the last time she was a really good character, unfortunately. So it also just might be part of the fact that they've forgotten that Yang is supposed to be an interesting character and just kind of forgot about it.
I
Maybe
don't think
that's
I
why.
saw her in this one making any dad jokes. I can't really recall. Uh, Even though I just watched it today, I don't think I remember there was
Yeah,
any gags with
not
her.
really. And again, it doesn't bother me. Like, again, I like you guys know I complain about the show a lot, but it doesn't bother me that much because I don't care about it that much. Again, having just watched volumes 1 through 2.5, it's not that big a part of her character, honestly. I see there's a lot of other aspects to her character that are more important, like thrill seeking, wanting to find her mom, um, acting at that point like a mom towards Ruby, caring about her looks actually, which is always kind of subtly there, but definitely there. Especially having just watched like Neon taunt her like crazy about that, and how angry she gets about it, like is definitely something she gives a shit about. That's another thing that they stopped kind of going over is kind of how vain overall Yang is, and it's not explored as much as it could be because it's always hinted at. There's a lot of other things I think that are more important to Yang than a couple of bad dad jokes. Because even the joke about her not being funny to me never really landed. Like all the stuff with Ruby is way funnier, or like Sun or and Neptune, especially Ruby though. Ruby's actually usually the funniest character.
Yeah.
At a juncture, yeah, at a juncture.
Well, I think that the difference with her is that from what I recall, she usually isn't like intentionally meaning to make any kind of joke or anything, though.
Exactly.
Is
Yes.
just
Yes. Yes. And then Weiss is actually often fairly funny because she's like straight man with like the straight reactions to
yeah,
other people's weird antics and stuff like that.
yeah, the
Like
death
her,
one. Well, I feel though that works. That would work well with the Yang thing if they used that dynamic between them more often.
yes, I agree with that. That's true. But we've already complained about Weiss being kind of fucked up, and they kind of screwed her up in volume 9. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense. That is one of the
I
worst
would
parts of volume 9, even though I do love the volume. Is
I wouldn't say it was screwing her up. I just don't know why they did it with her. Like, why did they do
Well, yeah,
her
but that is
like
kind of
that?
screwing up because it's not really her personality, though, to be like that. It
I
doesn't make sense.
I guess I just my only thing is that like that's my only thing that I've ever come up with that is that like otherwise she wouldn't have been doing very much of anything during Volume 9. It doesn't seem like they didn't really have a whole lot for her to do. Like
That's true,
so
but I'd rather her do nothing than do something that goes against her character.
I guess I don't know. That
Man,
that
that
would
is a
make her
hard bargain.
that well no, not for Ruby. Ruby does that with characters all the time.
I was actually literally just thinking that's basically Yang in Volume 1.
Yeah.
She's just there. She punches things.
Yeah, Yang is very much just there in volume. Well, she's actually the worst character in volume 1. After having rewatched volume 1, she's worse than Blake because Blake hasn't become as annoying, and we haven't gotten the reasons to dislike her as much yet, i.e., revealing that she's the fondest princess, um, and has a great supporting, loving family and the coolest mom ever. I think Yang is not even that similar to how she is in other parts of the show in volume 1. Like the whole thing of ditching Ruby for her quote unquote friends that we never see again, that was really dumb. Makes no fucking sense. And she's she's a really bad sister in that one, which again, she's kind of a bad sister again in volume 9, but that's only because she's trying to get she's trying to get with Blake, basically. She's as media says, she's so far up Blake's ass that she's not really caring about Ruby. That's a little different than in volume 1, where she's just kind of ignoring Ruby purposefully, but then not explaining it, and then again, yeah, the friends that don't exist thing is it never come back, is super weird. And then after that, she's all like happy to be on her team and super supportive later, so it doesn't really make sense. Again, the transition back to Ice Queendom, they actually kind of address that in Ice Queendom, which is kind of great. I kind of really like that. If you remember, they had her talk with like Taeyang, and her reasoning was like, well, I don't want her to rely on me too much, just something along those lines. Like I want her to like have to figure stuff out on her own. Like I don't want to be a crutch for her, essentially. Do you guys remember that? They actually did that in Ice Queendom,
Yeah.
that's a better explanation than what happened in volume 1 of the actual show.
And that's such a layup for characters like Yang, and this is I think I talked about this last week with how I handled Yang and Ruby on, but it's such a layup with characters like her that the show never really does, which is the whole like Yang. At least in the first part of Volume 1, you do get the impression that like she has been there for Ruby. The fact that when they first talked to Blake and Ruby's like Yang used to read to me as a kid, and that's why I want to become a huntress. And between that and the Volume 2 reveal of what their home life is like, it does create this impression that, like, maybe the reason Yang wants freedom and wants a life of adventure is because she spent so long being chained by Ruby. Like, Ruby is a
Hmm.
chain for her. Speaking from experience. When you are chained to a sibling like that, it
high powers
creates
here.
a very weird like situation where like you don't know if you need to just shrug them off or if you need to be there. Like you need to, and you need to be able to find that balance. And RWBY, as a show, just it never really addresses that issue
Never.
that could have
Not at
cropped
all.
up.
Yeah, that would have been much more interesting. Although what's more interesting than that is that the man himself has finally graced us with his presence.
Sorry, I kept you waiting.
Kept us waiting a podcast and a half, you asshole.
Yeah.
haven't
I
talked
don't
to you in
have
like
any
2
notes.
years.
I'm not prepared. I didn't study. I'm in my underwear and I'm in front of class giving a speech. So yeah, just
So
continue.
you are prepared for Ice Queendom then.
Oh,
because Blake has a very similar situation where her pants disappear too,
in
much
a good
like
way?
a dream.
Does she have like nice underwear at least?
Have you watched Ice Queendom?
I've watched a few clips. That is about
Okay,
it.
so have you seen her outfit where she like goes all Adam mode? She's not wearing pants in that outfit. That's the joke.
Nice.
And it is a very common like dream thing for you to like have nightmares about not wearing pants.
Oh yeah, I see a picture
Yeah.
of her. Yeah, she just has no.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
running
she has
around
no
in-
pants. It's just it doesn't even call attention to it. It's just something that I didn't even notice until Judgmental Critter pointed it out in her short series, breaking down everyone's outfits. Like Blake just doesn't have pants for some reason.
Blake's outfit in Ice Queendom like gives me like Persona character vibes. Like she would fit in a Persona game.
Yeah,
Kinda does,
I
actually.
could agree.
You know, if the negative Blake was something that Weiss had manifested instead of something that Blake had manifested inside of herself, I would be accusing Weiss of being a closet bisexual just because of that.
Now that I'm thinking, though, negative Blake, nega Blake.
That is how it sounds in the sub. In the dub, they are very careful to use the word negative.
I watched
the
the
entire
I loved
time.
it the whole time.
It's like how I always get nervous whenever I grab like the Dark Modelo and I see the word. It's like the Spanish word for black, and I'm like, oh shit.
It's also hilarious in the sub every time they shout "Bingo Nicolasu."
I need to watch the sub then. This sounds hilarious. I only watched the dub, which again,
Yeah.
it's weird for me, but it's because I'm used to RWBY being with the English voice actors, even though every other anime I ever watch is always subbed.
I could have watched the dub, but the sub was what came on first, so I just watched through it like that.
Yeah, makes sense. If it wasn't the same voice actors, then I would have switched over to the sub. But it is, it's the actors I know. Like I think at the very, I actually have a bigger problem with Barbara as Yang than I do with Aaron Zek as Blake, to be honest. But at least Lindsay as RWBY and Kara Everly as Weiss are both very fantastic, I think. So
I do like how we've totally forgot about what's it called? The Justice League crossover.
Hey, don't
Well, we actually
remind
talked-
me. Yeah, we
No,
talked about that last week.
We talked about that last time we did the last podcast, and we talked about maybe subjecting ourselves to watching that and doing a
Yeah.
podcast. on that.
Nobody here has watched that. I have not watched that.
I'm down if you guys are willing to subject yourself to the torture. I'm willing to subject myself to the torture
Look,
because there's like two, aren't there?
Yeah,
there's
two.
one
There's
one
two
where the
parts.
Justice League goes to Remnant and one where RWBY goes to DC Universe.
how long are they?
Like an hour, I think.
Okay, that's not that bad if it's just like 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm willing to subject myself. Are you guys willing to subject yourselves to that torture and then complain
I
about it?
guess
Whether I'm
I
willing or
will.
not
Fine.
is
For the sake of content.
just
All right,
really
I
not-
will.
I mean, half the reason why I missed this because I hopped onto VR chat to try to pick up some tail, but
Are you willing to watch RWBY X Justice League and bitch about it with us?
I'll do it. Especially
All
if it's on a Monday or a Thursday night. That's whenever I'm most free, assuming I'm not on call.
I'm a lot more free than I used to be. I don't think I explained it to you yet, but I explained it to the other guys. So I used to be the holdup, and I am not the holdup anymore. So you won't have a problem.
I am now the holdup, but y'all can easily step over me because this is side content.
No, a Monday or Thursday, I can do either of those. What about me? Actually, media. What?
I'm free the same days every day. The only exceptions are my actual days off, where I'm free most of the time, but I tend to get into other things like my live show and actually going outside and touching grass.
I do
Fair.
like sliding into your live shows and just spamming the chat. It's great.
Yeah, I occasionally do that as well.
But please,
Dude,
back to Ice Queendom. I will just sit in the corner and make snide remarks from time to time.
Yeah, High Power, definitely listen to this podcast when it gets uploaded, because I went on a whole rant about how Ice Queendom is secretly White Knight propaganda.
Based?
Yeah,
Based?
I talked earlier before you were in about how this was actually a subtle reference to Sneed's Feed and Seed, formerly Chuck's, now referred to as Schnee's Dust and Fuss.
It's not a bad name for a store. Dust and
Weiss brings
Fuss.
the dust, Blake brings the fuss.
I'm missing all of these references right now. I just found out you can buy figures of Dictator Weiss, and I want
Yeah,
one.
Dude, I need one.
I've seen that.
I know they exist, and I just don't have the budget for figurines right now. But like,
I
man,
wanted
I do want. I just want a wall of Weiss, honestly, because like, full disclosure, like, Weiss is gorgeous, but she's gorgeous in a way that's like not sexy, which I really appreciate.
Weiss
Like,
is
I
elegant.
really appreciate how she
Yeah.
can be so hot without needing to like
Weiss-
sexualize her.
You know,
Weiss is made to be an elegant figure. Like, she is literally like, she's like an idol, basically. That's how she's perfect for a figure, essentially. Right?
yeah,
It's almost, she's like an even better version in terms of like for figures than like Alia from Alia Sometimes Has Her Feelings. Like, she's designed to be like almost an idol as well, but Weiss has cooler fits, essentially. So Weiss works even better.
Yeah, and also Weiss has like just the slimmer proportions. Like, Alia's stacked. Like, Alia's got some thick thighs and big boobs, whereas Weiss is flat. I just thought of something. Weiss is what you would get if you somehow bred Alia and Yuki together, just genetically.
I'd say you guys can probably find like a used figure if you want to like get some gloves and
I don't want to
like,
use.
you know,
I don't know where that's been.
well, you
Or
don't
what's
need
been
to.
on it.
Just get like some like degreaser and like just
Gross.
you know have just have like some sponge and some uh wire brushes or
And I have to I have to do that. I have to buy so many used figures because a lot of the stuff that I've gotten into recently, they haven't made figures for in a long time. So I have no choice but to buy, used versions of
is
them because they don't exist new anymore.
are we gonna
Or I
find
try
out
to buy them.
later that dude is like the first instance of male microchimerism? Is that's what's going to go on here? Like, are we gonna wind up seeing that he's absorbed some external DNA sequences somehow?
Possibly. A lot of these figures are for visual novels, so I would not be surprised, unfortunately.
Oh man, I just found one. It's the Ice Queen version of Ruby and Weiss together for $45. I am tempted.
That's pretty good. I actually have a pretty good Ruby figure already. I have the one I actually got it at Anime Expo like 8 or 9 years ago. Um, it's the one where like I think it wasn't a major release, but it's the one where she's just holding her scythe out, and her like scythe has like a little holder for it. And she's holding it straight out. I got it for cheap, and they sell it for like $100 now. I think I got it for like $40, and it was way better than any of like the ones that Rooster Teeth was releasing at the time. And I still have that one set up.
Have we talked about the? I know we talked about Jacques, but the other members of the Schnee family.
Oh yeah, they actually like manifest the butler as all the different dwarfs, and they just turn into a bunch of different dwarves basically. That was pretty funny.
You have Bashful guards all the sillies, which includes all of the lowly Weisses, as well as Team Juniper. Then you have Sleepy Weiss protects the bedroom where Ruby and Yang are kept, because they are the most precious things to her. You have Bashful Weiss, which is all the things that protects all the things that Weiss is embarrassed about, which is the Faunus, and is like she has this whole corner set up for Blake specifically, because she doesn't know what to do with what to think about Blake, which is also why Dream Blake has like the bow on one side, ear on the other, and the claws and tail and stuff. Then you have Angry Klein, which is the basically a police officer. You have Happy Klein, who's just a diligent worker for the Schnees. You have Doc Weiss, who is a candle, and Sneezy Klein, who is a dog. And they all have the mustache.
I wanted to mention I liked the whole thing with like the kid Weisses. That was really sad, and that was very revealing.
I want to be pampered.
Yeah, I like that they actually did that.
Oh, another piece of evidence for this being White Knight propaganda is that they all just freaking huddle around Jean.
They all
Jean turns them all into child soldiers.
Yeah, that's true. He literally gets a lolly.
Punish John.
No, Jean literally builds a lolly Weiss army. It's not a joke.
And when Ruby gets stung and he's like trying to lift her up to his massive sword, which is totally not a metaphor for something, all the lowly Weisses are like cheering him on, like "Go Jean, go Jean, go Jean." It's really cute.
But on a serious note, like I really liked that they had that, because like that was definitely something that made me sympathize with her a little bit more, and it's like they never really touch on that in the actual show. That like it's kind of brushed aside. It's mentioned obviously that she didn't have the best life with her dad, but like her mom is literally Helga Pataki's mom from Halo, right? If not worse.
Yeah, in the dream, she's literally just a cackling shadow. Like
She's just a
the idea
shadow
of a person
drunk.
being there, but not actually being there. And she's got like I think she's like double fisting wine bottles as a shadow.
So we know that even in the regular show that like her mom's just a drunk and her dad is evil and conniving and all of that. But it's nice to actually have more information from the character themselves. Like I know we don't need to hear all the details, obviously, but it's especially another way they reveal it in the show is how fucking attached she is to Winter in Volume 3. That's very revealing with how shitty her childhood was, because she's got nobody else but her sister, right? And Klein, I guess.
And in the dream, Winter is just a book. She's basically like Weiss's Bible. Like she is the law, she is the rules that this dream version of Weiss is trying to follow. Like even more so than the statue of Big Nicholas.
But it's nice to actually get more about her, like with her actually talking to her grandfather, and it was kind of heartbreaking to have her to hear like what those inner children and like her feeling like she needed to lock them up and everything like that, because she could never be that ever. She was never allowed to be a child, and that really sucks. Like regardless of whatever Michael Jackson did or didn't do, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he was never allowed a child, and you can see how much it fucks people up. You can see what it's turned. Nobody here probably watches Formula One, but you can see what it's turned Max Verstappen into. Like he's the best racing driver maybe of all time. He has no personality. He has no interest. When he's at home, he races in sim racing. He literally has no existence outside of races.
Is he German?
At all. No, he's Dutch. Close.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's only two things on this planet that I hate: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
So, and that's because his dad like literally beat him, would leave him at gas stations. Like his dad was Jacques Schnee, basically, right? So you can see what not having a childhood does to people, and those are just two examples, right? But actually seeing some sort of manifestation of that from Weiss in this is really nice to have. It's great, and I wish we got more of that in the actual show, because Poop was kind of talking about this in the last podcast of Weiss they could have done more to build out her story that lasts a little bit longer. Stuff like this is a way they could have done that.
Well, I was talking more then about how they could have just like taken it and moved it backwards more, like instead of like front loading so much stuff to before when the show began, like, and just and having it kind of resolved prior. Admittedly, Weiss was one of the ones who had her stuff resolved the latest in Volume 1. But she still kind of basically right there had most of it cleared up. And then when she saw Winter again in Volume 3, that sort of cemented
Yeah,
everything.
like Weiss's arc basically ends when she summons the Armored Gigas for the first time to protect Velvet. Like
Yeah.
that is the finale of her main character arc, and it's also one of my favorite moments in the series. Like I've been on record, that's the only moment from the entirety of RWBY that got me so excited that I jumped out of my seat and punched my ceiling.
But like that also led to her not really doing much after uh, Volume 4, really. Like she did some stuff in Volume 4, and also
Yeah, and last week we proposed ideas for that, and as well as because Blake suffers from a very similar issue with her plot line, her character arc being resolved mostly like off screen before Volume 1 even begins.
and I think I also said that Yang basically does the same thing too. Like even worse with Yang in that like when she meets her mom, again she has already completely decided without ever saying so what she was going to tell her and all that stuff, uh, without seemingly any reason for her saying stuff like that.
Well,
So
I agree with the whole thing of pushing things back. Like I think we said similar things about maybe not exactly the same thing, but with Blake too. Like her arc was already done before what in the trailer basically. So yeah, I can see that's a good point with Weiss as well. It could have moved stuff
now,
back for both of them, would have helped out a lot.
on the other hand, had this show not tried to be kind of like a continuous thing and it more wanted to be a sort of episodic, essentially, I don't know what I would compare it to. You something like the Justice League animated series, basically, where everybody's origin story had occurred off screen and only occasionally come up as reference. They could have done it like that, but that would have functioned better in sort of an episodic thing.
Well, I also think the thing I said about I don't know if this was my idea originally or somebody else came up with it, but I like the idea of Blake going to Beacon still as part of the White Fang originally to like infiltrate, and then that changes her mind over
I
time. I
I
think
believe
that
I
could have
suggested
slowed
that.
Weiss's arc. Was that your idea originally?
I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was
I know I
that
talked about it last week because that was being talking about a negative Blake and how like that's kind of what we could have gotten in Volume 1
that might have been
if
you
they
then.
so
Okay.
chose.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I would like because I didn't think it was my idea, but I love that idea. I think that would have been much better, and that would have helped with Weiss. I think because it would have made their dynamic a lot more interesting in Volume 1, and I think it could have kept going longer into the series
It
because
would have put
that
a
would have
lot more tension
justified.
there to
It would
kind
have a
of
lot more
like,
tension, and it would in Weiss's mind it would have justified her racism and her discrimination and her attitude, right?
well, like
Whereas,
if it's like depending on how it went, because like if it started off like depending on when it was revealed that, because like Blake being revealed as a faunus is one thing, but like then Blake getting revealed later on to have still been a member of the White Fang would have been a whole different thing.
yep.
That would have probably come at like the low point. That probably would have happened in like volume 3 or whatever the equivalent would have been in this sort of alternate scenario.
Agreed. I
where
think it would have been. I think that would have been a much better reason for her to run away, as well. By the way, is them
yeah,
finding out.
kind of like you go through volume 1 and 2, they realize they're not so different, you and I, and they have like a sort of Gimli Legolas broing up with between them.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Then then
Fucking love Gimli and Legolas.
yeah, like, and then after that they find out some stuff about one another, or perhaps like maybe at the very beginning of volume 3 is when Weiss feels comfortable enough with Blake to tell how XYZ tragedy due to the White Fang, and probably like a better tragedy than what she had,
Yes,
which was like some
yes.
nameless
She needs to be
employees
more
getting
directly
killed.
affected.
I would say like probably kill off her mom or
Yep.
something, like that would
Or
probably
another
have been
sibling.
better. Yeah, something like that, and then give them that, have her say, "Hey, this is what it happened to me because of the White Fang, but I know that you're not like that," and maybe like pound that home. You're like, you really taught me that you guys are not all untrustworthy people who will stab me in the back. Only at the end of that volume to have her do that exact thing. That would have probably hit pretty damn hard if they
That
had
would have
done
been
it
great.
like that.
And it would have been amazing. And it also would have made Blake a lot less insufferable in volume 4, because then she would actually have a better reason to run away. And then she'd have a lot more conflict. And even at that point, going back home, even if her parents still are basically the fucking king and queen of, of the Faunus, then you'd still be able to it should be more interesting, because then she would have actually done something bad and she'd actually have to deal with it, and she'd have a reason to run away, so she wouldn't have seemed like such a pompous little bitch in volume 4, right? It would have made
Well,
her a lot more interesting in that volume too.
I think her volume 4 arc, had that been the case, that would have been like, uh, she would have not yet fully sided with either side at that point. She would still be in
Yes,
conflict, probably.
she had to figure it out in volume
Yeah,
4.
yeah. Adam would not be trying to hunt her down and kill her. He would probably be
Nope.
trying to look for her to just get her back, because and also I would probably have not made Adam so psychopathic. He would be an
I agree.
extremist, but I would probably want him to like have like his own better reasons that are not left off as a small mark on his face that we see later on that is
Yeah,
almost nothing is said about. Like maybe have him completely unveil his backstory in volume 4. I know that's more sitting and talking stuff that kind of we didn't like volume 5 about, but you kind of can't get around it in certain
but if the
cases.
story is good, then it's not as bad. The problem with volume 5 is it's sitting and talking about shit stories. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, and anyway, so Adam reveals his whole thing. He tells Blake all of the stuff. Maybe like I don't know how exactly you would if this is the point at which Blake does abandon him fully, the you would probably have to have like I guess I would probably say like maybe have like her mom or dad have a similar story and then tell her about that and why they decided to go a different way to Adam, like give like a foil story, and then she's like, okay, I see that there is another way. And then
I
even after that, I would not have like Adam get like super angry at her. I would have his whole thing from that point forward be like a tragic thing of constantly trying to get her back even though he can't anymore. And that is what leads to his downfall. Like,
I would
you
actually do it a little different and have her actually pick Adam's side at the end of volume 4. And it's not until she starts fighting against her teammates in volume 5 that she switches back to their side.
okay, yeah, you could do it like that. Yeah, yeah, I would say you could definitely do it like that. Like her mother
It's a
and
little more
father.
similar to Zuko. It is a little more ripping off Zuko, which is fine because his character was done really well. So I'm kind of that's kind of why I was going with that way.
Yeah, I mean, if it's good, I would say that it's a really good idea to rip it off. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the problems with RWBY is that they're too scared to be unoriginal, even when it's good.
Yes, I totally agree with that. So yeah, I think that all of that. See, this is now I'm annoyed because all of that is much better than the show we got. Not that I'm saying I could write an entire show myself, but we could
Well,
together.
you and
But
I
yeah, I don't
are
know. Maybe we
doing it
could, Coop.
together.
Maybe we
Yeah,
could.
yeah, and I would write it not about girls, but about like dudes with like cool robots in space, and uh, maybe also have like some kind of fish with jetpacks in there. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. It could be a whole thing.
If the fish have jetpacks, can the sharks have the mechs?
Well, no, the sharks would have freaking laser beams on their freaking heads.
Dang
Oh,
it, I was
freaking
gonna
lasers
say that.
attached to their freaking heads. Yeah.
That is the second Austin Powers joke reference in this podcast.
Both by me, by the way.
No, I'm the one who did the Dutch line.
Yeah, I said we're not so different, you and I. Did you not catch that?
So that's 3 Austin Powers
There's
references.
3 Austin references.
2 by Coop, 1 by Media. Put it on the scoreboard.
God, I haven't watched those in a minute.
Oh man, Goldmember was not that great, but I did love the first 2.
The first 2 are great. The first 2 are freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Goldmember has my favorite lines.
I do love the I love gold thing. That's like the one thing from Goldmember. Oh, and also like the international copyright Godzilla lines were also pretty fun.
Yeah, that line. I used to think you're crazy, but now I can see you're nuts. Why, thank you. Look at you. You don't even have a name tag. You stand no chance.
Do you guys want to do an Austin Powers podcast instead of the RWBY Justice League podcast?
No, not really.
Oh,
It would literally just be me quoting my favorite moments.
it'd be fun.
Yeah, we'd just be quoting it the whole
I would
time.
rather do like a Blazing Saddles podcast. That'd be great.
Any other thoughts on Ice Queendom before we wrap it up?
I think that's it. We're gonna have to subject ourselves to the shit next time, so at least this was pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to this last week that like there's a lot of neat things about Ice Queendom, but a lot of it's not really story related. Like the actual like story beats are just kind of like, okay, we get volumes 1 through 3, or we get volumes 1, then we get like Ruby going into the Ice Queendom to scout it out. Then we get Ruby, Blake, and Yang going in there to try to do it. They fail because that's just how plot structures work, and also it's a 12-episode season. And then Jean is the key to everything because White Knight propaganda.
Like I said, I think they probably could have scrunched this into far fewer episodes than they did. Like maybe half as much, even, like if even that.
Oh yes, the eternal. They could always cut it down for RWBY. Just have less.
Well, the problem with the main show is that they just focus on the wrong things. Like they have the right amount of screen time, but it's just allocated in places where it shouldn't be. Like they should dedicate more time to some things and less time to other things.
Like maybe adding less characters. That's a big problem with RWBY, which is
That's a big one. That's a big one.
It's a nice thing about Ice Queendom.
Yeah, it's something I'm struggling with as a writer because like I have this whole logistical thing like, okay, this is kind of like how many characters need to be in order for the plot to work and for the world to work the way it needs to be. But then that just like I know that's going to cause problems in the long run.
If you do it like Tight Kubo, where you bring in a new guy every time you need a new thing to happen, like it's gonna stack up and it's gonna fuck some shit up.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm avoiding, and I am actually drawing a lot from Bleach, inspiration wise, with Night Watch.
It has always freaked me out that he does want you to pronounce it tight. I was like, what? It's not T-Pay? What the fuck?
And then the podcast ends.
I was gonna say that's a great spot to end the podcast.
I always know how to wrap it up, but maybe Tight Kubo doesn't.
But anyway, so thank you all for watching. I am a published author. I already alluded to this, but I have 3 books out right now. The Agents of Night Watch series, with book 4 coming out later this year. Hopefully still. And you can find me on Twitter, as well as I know I have a Substack that I haven't updated in a while. And I also have a live show that I do on my off days.
I don't really have anything except a cat on my lap that I'm petting right now named Mr. Coco. But other than that, there's nothing really for me to say. You guys got anything?
No, not really. Other
No.
than I'm enjoying my motorcycle, and yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you all. And join us next time when we talk about the RWBY Justice League crossover.